Turns out they were going to shut the highway down. In April 2022, we went out and set the Cannonball coast to coast to coast world record. And a week later, we lost that record. So finally, in October of 2024, we set back out to retake that record. And when you think about everything that goes into a Cannonball, our team in the car had probably close to 25 competitive long distance cross country style drives just within us and numerous records. And when you look at the team that supported us, a couple dozen people, we're nearing probably 100 plus competitive Cannonball style events. So all the knowledge that you could possibly have about running a Cannonball and setting up a Cannonball car, we had tapped into everything that was available. We had built the car to every spec we could think of. There were redundancies on top of redundancies, multiple radar and laser systems on the car, multiple GPS. We had phones and tablets all set up with different cell services. We were ready to go for this run. And when you get that into it, when you really plan, you feel like you have covered every base in a Cannonball run. And I would say for the first 1,800 miles of the run, we were probably as well dialed in as we could have been. Then you get to the Southwest, and as Ed put it in his book, Cannonball is all about pulling the handle on the Cannonball slot machine and seeing what rolls up. And we got into the Southwest and we realized there's a lot of luck and there's a lot of things that you just can't plan for that happen in a Cannonball run. Coming through, I think it was Missouri or Oklahoma, we were coming up on a police officer. And usually when you're coming up on a police officer on the road, you have the ability to kind of creep by them, maybe weave your way gently through traffic, get around them, weave your way a little bit more, make some space, and take off. Not with this officer. Wes had tried to do that. He just kind of pushed the car just gently, just effortlessly, got up to the cop, and as he gets up to the cop kind of looks over. I think he even flashed his lights a bit. We realize there's no getting past this guy. We're going to have to sit behind him until he gets off. And that turned into almost 150 miles of a police escort, I believe, which was so demoralizing. You want to go fast. The car's built to go fast. You have everything you could possibly plan for in the car, ready to go fast. And there's just no planning for that. And there's no way around it. And we didn't have a spotter who could come up and take one for us, not in this stretch. So you're along for the ride. We finally get past, the cop ends up pulling off. I think we got to the end of the state. So he's going to get off the highway and we get past him. We didn't know it at the time, but that was the start of probably a 600 to 800 mile stretch that was just every odd in the book turned out to be against us. We had pulled the handle on the Cannonball slot machine and we hit 7-7 cherry or something like that. It was unreal. It was not much further past where the cop had gotten off, and Wes is getting back into it at this point, and he's really getting up to speed. We had just gotten gas in Tucumcari, New Mexico. I won't name the gas station. And we had planned all of our gas stops ahead of time. So you talk about the planning that goes into this. I had looked up all the gas stations. Are they on the correct side of the highway? Are they easy to get to? Is there a second gas station at that exit? Are there gas stations at the exit before and the exit after? I'd called the gas stations. Do you have premium? How many pumps is it on? Which pumps are closest to the road? All that kind of stuff. We pull into the gas station. We fill up both tanks. The main tank is about 18 gallons, just over 18 gallons on the Saab. The fuel cell is 32 gallons. So we got 50 gallons of what we believe to be fresh gas in the car. We take off, hammer down the road. It's probably 50 miles, maybe 100, probably closer to 50 miles later. And all of a sudden the car just is bucking. And it is not happy about something. And I don't know what it is. We're trying to figure this out. Is it a misfire? Is it spark plugs? Is it the DI cassette? Because Saabs are notorious for those going out. But I had just replaced it. I had a spare in the trunk. So we should have been good. As we're going through kind of the mental checklist of what it could be, we get to the point where like, maybe it's bad gas. We pull off into this gas station, which is in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico, which is basically half of New Mexico. We pull into this gas station. This thing looks like we're probably the first customers to pull up this week. We're trying to figure it out, and the car is just stumbling, and it dies, like, at the gas station. We don't really know what to do. I'm looking under the car. We got the hood popped. We're looking everywhere. This is reminding us of, in our 2022 record run, when we had overfilled the gas tank by mistake. So we're wondering, did we, overfill something? Maybe it's the charcoal canister. Do we have a really bad vacuum leak? Is the transmission overheating? Also happened in 2022, but I'd rebuilt the transmission. It was a built transmission. It had better cooling, had a catch can, everything. We had really thought we overplanned for this. Like I said, the best we can figure out is this has to be bad gas. So I go inside the gas station. They've got this little rack in the corner with like the fuel stabilizers and the oils and everything. And they've got 3 different ones. I grab a bottle of each. I look at the clerk. I say, I'll be right back. I come out. I hold all 3 up. And I say, guys, which one do I get? We all kind of agreed on which one. It was a crapshoot. We had no idea, right? I mean, it's gas station fuel treatment. You're rolling the dice anyway. Went back in. I grabbed 3 bottles, which was all they had. Gave the guy my credit card. Ran back out. We dumped 1 in the main tank, 2 in the fuel cell. We topped off the main tank with fresh gas, we hoped, at this gas station, which, looking at this place, that was a gamble in and of itself that it was fresh gas. And we get back on the highway. And the car is running decent for a little bit. We get a few miles in and it starts to stumble again. And you're just like, oh, is this over just with bad gas? Is it bad gas? Did we misdiagnose? Could it be anything? And Wes is just perfectly playing the car. He knows exactly the throttle points to hit, and he can kind of push his way through the throttle to get the response we need in the car. And eventually he's able to drive through it. And over the next few miles, it kind of works itself out. So we're presuming it was bad gas because eventually the fuel treatment must have mixed in and worked itself out. So we think, okay, that was our mishap on this run. We should be good now. We keep on driving along. I think I get a shift in there. It's about time for Chris to take over, and we're getting into Arizona. As we're going through Arizona, Chris is commenting on there's just these gorgeous clouds in front of us. And they really were. They were beautiful. You know, the clouds are coming in. The sun is setting out in the west. It looks great, but at the same time, it looks very ominous. And our mission control team is coming through and they're saying, there's a really bad storm coming through Arizona. Saying, okay, all right, well, we'll be prepared. And they go, no, it's really bad. It's snowing in Arizona. It's snowing up in Flagstaff. Which as a cannonballer, you don't think about it. Arizona is actually one of the highest points of elevation. When you're doing the southern route, it's probably the coldest area on the whole run. Snow in Flagstaff in October, should have been prepared for that. We knew it was a possibility, but turns out they were going to shut the highway down. So our mission control team is calling and they're saying, I-40 eastbound is already shut down. And they're thinking about shutting down I-40 westbound. There's reroutes, there's opportunities on most of the route where you can get off and take a side road. In this area, there are no other roads. There's not a frontage road. There's not a small town you can go through. There's nothing. So we have to make this quick decision, and we decide, okay, we don't want to risk getting stuck on I-40 with it shut down, because then this whole thing is over. So we say, what are the options? And our mission control team was phenomenal. These guys are scrambling. They figure out a reroute. We've got a local guy who's helping out with mission control and waiting to help us with a fuel stop, and says, I think you guys can get to Phoenix. If you can get to Phoenix, you can take I-10 in. So, okay, how do you get to Phoenix from I-40? There are no direct roads. The best opportunity is there's an exit where you can take this winding, meandering road. And you have to remember, you're not just going south down, you're going down in elevation. Flagstaff is several thousand feet higher than where we're going to end up. So as we pull off the highway, we realize we're going to be in this terrible area. I think Chris described it as basically you're on the dark side of the moon for a couple of hours. You've got no reception. There's no gas stations or anything. So we pull over to a gas station, top off quick, just in case, go inside, try to buy a paper map. And they look at us like we have 3 heads because nobody has a paper map anymore. Mission Control had sent us links to directions for the GPS, and we'd like screenshot them and downloaded them to our phones. So like, okay, minimally we have this. Chris takes off on this back 2-lane road in Arizona, and the next 2 hours of driving are just, you can't even describe it. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was like you're in a video game almost, because it's pitch black. There are no street lights. There are a couple cars every so often that will pass. We're on the thermal camera looking at the sides of the roads looking for animals or anything, because those things could jump out at any point. And it was dark because you had the storm rolling in. So you only had like partial like stars and everything. And I talk about planning the run. I learned this from Ed. We planned the run specifically for the weekend we did, in part because it was a full moon weekend. And the full moon gives you a little better night visibility because it's a little brighter at night. And that had served us really well throughout the rest of the run. But when you're in Arizona and there's a giant cloud cover, it didn't serve us as well. We had the light bars going on the car, the high beams on, and Chris is just, like I said, it's like a video game. He's just gracefully just pushing this car along every curve, and we're heading down to Phoenix. We're going down these crazy hills in elevation. Finally, we pull our way into Phoenix, and as we get to our gas station, our spotter was supposed to meet us up in Kingman, had driven down to Phoenix to meet us instead. And he's got a gas pump all set up for us, and we're able to get in, gas up the car, and get back on the highway. As much as you plan for the route and everything, you're going to be on major highways. You're on interstate highway basically the entire drive. So you would presume that there is a certain level of minimum quality that is assigned to a road being an interstate highway. Not always the case, apparently, and certainly not consistent across the country. I think one of the most surprising things for us on this run, and I think one of the most dangerous parts about this run, was not other traffic or wildlife or anything like that. It was the condition of the roads. There was so much roadkill on the roads. We didn't really have issues with animals like alive on the sides of the roads or anything like that. I don't think we saw much of anything in that regard, but animals who had previously tried to cross the road and did not quite succeed were numerous everywhere. And just bobbing and weaving on the road, trying to get around these animals that were minimizing the amount of time that we're taking home venison jerky was just insane on this road. There was one time we were driving along and Christopher was driving and Wes, who was our other driver, was in the back seat trying to nap, and we hit such an extreme bump that Wes is jostled around. I think he hit his head on the roof. I'm in the front and I had seen the bump coming up. I don't know, because I thought it made a lot of sense. I'd kind of braced myself. I'd pushed my feet up into the footwell and pushed myself back in the seat, and I kind of was holding onto the door handle. And as we landed the car from this bump, we hit with such force that I rolled, I twisted my ankle in the front. And I hear Wes in the back seat yelling out and go, yeah, I think I just twisted my ankle. And I mean, I think that was probably one of the first twisted ankles on a Cannonball run, which was interesting, especially being not the driver and not being involved in an accident. No matter how much effort you put into it, no matter how many competitive runs you've got under your belt and on your team, something can always come up in a Cannonball.
This month, the VINwiki content is brought to you by Auto Tempest. Auto Tempest has supported VINwiki for years, Car Trek as well, all of our friends, but what we really love them for is that it is the most powerful way to shop for your next car. They compile all the results from all the major listing sites into one place. Autotempest.com, all the cars, one search. That means you get to all the deep, dark corners of the internet to find the exact car that you're looking for as fast and efficiently and powerfully as possible. You also get to see how it stacks up against all the other cars like it that are for sale around the country. And so check them out now at the link in the description below to shop for your next car with Auto Tempest and thank them for their ongoing support of VINwiki.